Ladies and gentlemen, I got someone that's absolutely extraordinary. And singer, songwriter, producer, the music is in his veins. I mean, it's in his blood. I'm talking about substance here. I'm not talking about that bubble gum you're smacking around the corner. I'm talking about Michael Allen Pierce is in the building on the Mental Margarita Show. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Sly. Thank you for having me on. Thanks to all of you out there listening and watching too.
Wow, man. Let's take it back, man, because first I want to say that me listening to your music, it's almost it completely captivated me. And I was like, I got lost in this world, man. Is soulful, my brother. It's deep. It has so much depth, and I completely enjoyed it.
Thank you, Sly. Thank you. That means a lot. Well, I think what it all is basically just it's confession. It's just authenticity. It's being real. And if it's going to
Yeah.
work, you just got to really kind of bare your soul and just let it all come out. There's a lot of folks out there feeling the same things. And if you can express that and at least get one person to go, hey man, I'm not the only one out. I'm not the only one out there feeling all of this.
Right,
Or
right.
what it is coming out, it just comes out. And sometimes I look at it shocked. The lyrics sometimes shock me and go, wow, I'm really letting that go. But I think that's the whole point, is just letting it all go.
You were born and raised in California.
Yeah, Silmar, and then a little old podunk town named Santa Clarita, which now has kind of turned quite metropolistic. I still have family down there, and my kids and my grandkids, and it's a big city now, and it was just a little faraway place from where I grew up in Southern California, the San Fernando Valley.
How was your upbringing? I mean, how was it like?
Oh, it was pretty dang interesting. I had a staff sergeant father and a Roman Catholic Sicilian mom, and they both instilled things in me that were, I think, the shaping of who I am. My father, every Friday night when I was a kid, would turn all the lights off and turn his reel-to-reel player on, and we'd listen to the Platters. We'd listen to uh, uh, Glenn Miller's orchestra,
Wow.
Elvis Presley, of course,
Yeah.
Aretha Franklin, and this is all stuff going on a reel-to-reel tape deck back in those days, and everybody had to be quiet and sit there and listen. And as the oldest, he would pop in at once in a while, and when an instrument would pop up, a solo, a saxophone or a trumpet or a flute, he would, what is that, son? And I'd have to pick out the sound of the instrument and stuff. And that kind of got me interested before I even started playing. And my dad tells me a story later on that he says, I walked in on you one day when I came home from work. You were in our bedroom in front of mom's dressing mirror. You had a Wilson tennis racket with a string tied on you, and you were singing your heart out to Cherokee People by Paul Revere and the Raiders. And he goes,
Oh,
I just turned away and let you do your thing. Well, a week after that, but I didn't know he caught me in the act. He brought home an old Sears and Roebuck arch top, dark sunburst with the F holes in it, man. The strings 3 inches off the neck. And that was my first actual experience with an actual guitar. I was probably about 13, 14 years old.
wow. At 13, I mean, like you're playing this guitar. What are you saying to yourself? Are you envisioning that this is going to turn into something serious, or is it still in the hobby stage for you?
Oh, the minute I picked the thing up, it wasn't a hobby. It was kind of an obsession and a compulsion. And I couldn't understand looking at the TV every day, watching all these great heroes on television playing guitars. And I'm thinking, man, how did they do it? These things hurt. Because I didn't know. I thought all guitars were the same, that you had to, slice your fingers open to play on these things. Well, by the time I was about, I'd say 15 or so, I saved up enough money doing chores and odd jobs and working in the summers. And I got my first Yamaha acoustic guitar. Suddenly I knew, oh, that's how it is. You got to go through this horrible nightmare to get to a dream. So I stuck with that hard guitar until I got that one. And then that's where it all opened up. Suddenly I started getting little songs and ideas in my head. And then going out and playing with other people. That was the biggest thing, is going out and seeking out friends, you know, the high school, middle school friends, kids who could play better than me, actually. And that's what you wanted to do. And there was a lot of embarrassing times, early, you know, parties that we would play, band parties, and I'd get up and play, and I knew I was messing up. And my good buddy, the drummer behind me, would give me confidence every once in a while and just say, just keep going, just keep playing. You're going to be all right. Don't just play through it. So you learn from the better guys and the better gals out there that play. And so that's what inspired me to want to get into groups.
And speaking of it, I mean, you did Oz Pierce.
Yeah, that
was that a band that you played in?
Ost Pierce was a three-piece band consisting of Rick Ost, Michael Allen Pierce, and Carl Kelly. They performed for a number of years together and played prestigious stages such as the Whiskey A Go-Go, the Old Woodshed, and the FM station in the Hollywood area.
Executioner?
Yeah, that was a metal group that my brother and I formed back during the 80s, when in late 80s, early 90s. We were out there on the Sunset Strip and making a bunch of noise, and got written up in a Screamer magazine centerfold with a bunch of other groups. Yeah, that's when they started banning the heavy metal scene and on the Sunset Strip. So that was our only claim to fame, as we were one of the bands that got banned on Sunset Strip. But
here is Michael Allen Pierce with his group Executioner. CK Bones performing live at Raji's in Hollywood in 1991. Also performing at Mancini's nightclub in Reseda, California. The Executioners was Paul Harb, Greg Pierce, and Michael Allen Pierce. And as we mentioned earlier, was proudly the blast metal band banned from playing the Sunset Strip.
My heart has always been with acoustic music. I mean, that's what acoustic, with that kind of a blend of, you know, a little bit of electric guitar, some orchestration. I don't know, kind of like a moody blues kind of thing. I can't tell you what I think it sounds like, because it's an amalgamation of a whole lot of influences.
Now, you wrote and recorded with a legend. Let's talk about him.
Nigel
Benjamin, Mott Solo. I mean, and this happened all the way since 2012.
Well, I'm sorry to tell a lot of folks that didn't know, but Nigel, he lived up here on the mountain. We were like brothers for over 10 years, but he unfortunately passed away in 2019 before we could finish any of this stuff.
Oh.
And that's kind of hard to find. It's amazing that a lot of folks don't know about it. And it still is a fact that a lot of folks still think that Nigel's working on his new album.
Wow.
But he passed in 2019. So all that we have in his last recordings while he was up here before he got ill are all those orchestrated keyboard tracks that he did. And yeah, Nigel he took over after Ian Hunter left Mott the Hoople. And then the remainder of the band reformed as Mott. With Nigel, he did a couple of albums with them. And then he moved to America. He had a band called English Assassin that was quite popular. And then London with Nikki Sixx, that later on went to form Motley Crue. But yeah, Nigel here in this very studio. Right behind me here was his console where he used to record. And I'm sitting where his keyboards used to be. And I was on the wall, and we shared the time. And he was always working on his stuff, and then I'd sneak in and work on my stuff. And then that stuff in between was where he'd say, "Hey, Michael, I want to I heard something on that song. I want to put it on there. Let's try it." okay, so I was free to I did an open track, and he put down one keyboard thing, and that's great. Then we did, so he kind of basically helped me do a lot of that background, that beautiful velvety background that's in there, all those lush strings. That all came out of the mind.
Oh man,
I
that
didn't
stuff
tell him
is
what to do.
priceless.
I just let him play a lot. I just let him play whatever he felt like he heard, and I think that's what made the magic in a few of those songs was Nigel's presence, really for sure. Mm-hmm.
Who were some of the people you grew up like really loving, and do you feel that they influence you to go in that direction?
Okay, I can answer that easily. First, the Beatles, followed by Jimi Hendrix, followed by Frank Zappa, Robert Fripp, and Steve Hackett from the band Genesis. There's my top five. And if I were allowed to add a six in, it would be David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. But
Oh yeah.
I had aunts and uncles and cousins that were older than me, of course, and they got me into. Well, Hendrix was probably the minute I decided I wanted to play an electric guitar. And Dylan would probably be the guy that influenced me into that whole folk, that whole telling the truth confession stuff.
Songwriting, yeah.
Jimmy painted with a really surrealistic brush that you can catch what he's saying in there, but Dylan pretty much came out and smack you in the cheek with it. So a blend of those two things I kind of picked up on. And then as far as just the experimental guitar thing, that would come from Zappa and Fripp from King Crimson. Everybody knows about Frank Zappa, but just their whole exploration of sound and not trying to, stay stuck in a certain rut or a certain formula, but always trying to push that envelope open and, taking that adventure into the dark spaces of, you don't know what's going to come up out of it, and that's okay. See what he takes out. Those guys. And then Steve Hackett, just for his hauntingly, ghostly, beautiful guitar solos, he proved to me that they don't have to be fast, they don't have to be loud, and they don't have to be mean. If anybody has a chance to listen to the great Steve Hackett, who used to play with early Genesis during the Peter Gabriel days, I mean, that's some really phenomenal, beautiful, that's soul guitar playing right there from a master. So, and his classical guitar work is great too. So those would be my guitar masters and the ones that influenced me to not only play but write.
Sunlight breaks the dawn. I'll be up and on my way. When you wake, I will be gone. But I'll be back at days and babe. And I'll wait for the moon to rise. I wait for the moon to rise.
And I think that your trials and tribulations in life had you focusing on two things from a music standpoint. And those two things is melody and meaning what you say.
Thank you.
So how important is melody and meaning to you?
They're equally the same. The melody is the universal language expression of what and it's the meaning. So no matter what you're singing, because I've heard music and it's sung in other languages that bring me to tears. I don't even know what they're saying, but there's the emotion that comes through that beautiful melody. I think the two it's kind of like mind, body, and soul. You have the lyric and the melody. Those two, if they're right in alignment, then you have meaning.
Matter of fact, we're going to talk about a couple of your singles, but the single that you let me hear, the first one, I immediately told you after I listened to it, I'm like, man, this needs to be in a movie soundtrack.
Well, how cool is that? Thank you so much. Well, a lot of times
Cinematic arrangements, that means something to you as well.
It does. I was a TV kid as well, so a lot of TV, and I paid attention to all of that, too, as growing up, because that has an effect too. Being also, I do visual arts as well, and I think, when you're looking at a film, I mean, that music has everything to do with, bringing out, even it's the enhancement that really is needed, I think. And so when the lyrics, sometimes the lyrics will inspire me to do that whole. It is. You're right, Sly. It's like, it's like you're putting on a play, and it's got to be done in real time so that you're seeing it all acted out on stage. So, so you got to kind of get it all done in 3 to 5 minutes. And so, it's a soundtrack to a visual, and maybe in the music, you don't see an actual video to it, but in your mind you do. And I think everybody sees their own video to a song that they hear.
Right.
And it's unique to each person. So that cinematic quality, I think, plays best in the mind of the listener.
We got 3 singles here. I want to talk about really quickly. In the Wind Between the Hours.
Yes.
What's that about?
Well, that came out of in the good 2012 era, 2013 era. My wife and I were struggling pretty hard, like a lot of folks were, in that big crunch, and we were almost losing our house. And by the grace of God, literally, and deep prayer and persistence, knowing that not to be anxious for tomorrow, I just kept praying every day that somehow an answer was going to come, and we were going to figure this whole thing out. And while I was going through all of that song came up, and the lyrics just it was one of those that just kind of flowed out flowed out like water off a waterfall. I mean, it came down hard and fast. And
wow, man.
And then about not too long after that, things started turning around, and everything started getting better, and we saved everything. And but I feel like that was just me gushing out the prayer in song, like, I heed my holy host in the wind.
You crying to the Lord.
And it's the whirlwind. I was stuck in that whirlwind between time, like, like, don't worry about tomorrow. Don't be anxious for tomorrow. Let today's problem be sufficient for today. And that I'll provide for you. And so I just clung to that, and that's where that whole lyric came out. So we were stuck in the wind between the hours there for a good hot while, but getting stung by the wings of time, and being spun around in the winds of time, so to say. And it's almost like time stood still long enough for everything to get okay. But that's knowingness, man. That's having. And then my wife is gone now over a year. But she and I clung to that stuff. I mean, we knew it. And when you have 2 people, 2 or more, right? When you have 2 people focused on that, knowing that it's going to be all right, no matter what the path that's laid before you, you're going to take it because you know where it comes from, and you just trust.
Here are some pictures of the early years and Michael Allen Pierce with his beautiful wife, Rita Bird. You're listening to In the Wind Between the Hours.
In the wind between the hours, I've lost my closest friends. In the wind between the hours, in the wind between the hours, I hear my holy host. In the wind between the hours, telling me to just hold on. In the wind between the hours, but what blows my mind the most is the chilling wind of time.
She's still right there. She's right next to you, man.
Right.
And I can feel her. I can feel it right now.
And I promised her I would do all of this. And so this kind of reembarkation on this journey just pretty much started about well, a little less than a year ago.
I'm so glad that you did, because I think you're gonna. I mean, some of the music that you're releasing is just, it's really phenomenal. Sundial.
Wrote that for my grandfather. That sundial that's in my backyard was his, and from the time I was a kid, that was one of the beautiful things we'd do together, is go out and set the sundial. When he was ill, and I was there quite a bit, and on the weekends I would come home to take care of business. Well, that song came. It started out as a lyric, and I was singing it. It was written to him, as like I was singing it to him. And then he passed before I could finish writing the lyric. So then the lyric completely changed to just more of I was reflecting his mortality and how I was feeling about that whole thing. And so Sundial, inspired by my grandfather and the sundial we used to work with together. And it just became kind of a short little story of, from morning to night, from birth to death, from, going through life. And, I mean, I think the lyrics pretty much express it that way. The lyrics came first. We were in our garden, and I popped up and said, lyrics just hit me, and I ran in the house and wrote them. Then later that night, we were sitting up on the couch, and I was fiddling with the guitar. I just tuned it up, and I was just going through a few chords, and that whole
Wow.
that thing popped up, and my wife, Miss Rita Bird, was watching the television, and I thought I was disturbing her, and she gave me a couple looks, and she hit the pause button and, do that again. What's that? I said, I don't know. I think it's the music to the lyric Sundial I wrote today. So that whole thing also came together in just a very short time.
Sunlight kissed my shoulder.
Love that song. And then the one that I really appreciate, that I was talking about earlier, The Blind Waltz of Time.
Yes, it's the newest one that just came out.
That is the one that I was like, wow, man, this needs to be on a big movie soundtrack.
Yeah, that's a kind of a fusion of a whole bunch of things. The first verse was actually, not losing a friend forever, but you can kind of get the idea that people that move away that you're going to miss forever, you feel like they're not going to thing. And then during that time, there was all the scare of California breaking off into the ocean and all that, watching the news. So verse 2, just sometimes a news clip, or I'll just write down a thing, and well, I guess that's the fear of the world right now, and I kind of threw that out. And then that middle section was actually written for my aunt, another actual loss. That whole middle section that I won't spoil it for those who haven't heard it yet, but
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But then the last verse is The Cure. As long as there's a song to play, we won't forget to dance. That's our chance to live. Just keep on feeling it, keep feeling life. Because to me, music is life, art is life, literature is life, expression is life. All other things just lead to a deadly path: hatred, bitterness, shame, judgment. I mean, and with music, we want to bring positive frequency to the ears that hear it, so it goes into the minds and the souls of those that hear it. So that's my whole quest. And I know it comes out kind of melancholy. They're kind of sad and melancholy tunes, but I promise you there's some other ones that are coming out. They're a little more upbeat, but But yeah, I mean, if it kind of it flows with the emotion of the time, but I always try to put a little tag at the end of it with a little that shows
Yeah.
a little hope, you know.
I got a bad feeling our time is at an end. I got a bad feeling I'm about to lose a friend. Yeah, but time is blind, blind are the eyes of time. Time is blind, blind are the eyes of time. Got a bad feeling that waves are gonna come. Our cracked and fragile cities that washed away in crumbs. Yeah. Time is blind, blind are the eyes of time. Time is blind, blind are the eyes of time. But I don't mind. It's just the waltz of time.
How do they get to hear your music? Where do they go to? Someone, I don't know if you're doing any shows right now, but what's the best way to get in contact with you as well?
Right now, the songs can all be heard or downloaded, streamed from YouTube Music, Amazon Music, iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Deezer. God, there's a whole list of them. That those three particular songs you were talking about are pretty easy to find anywhere. Just type in Michael Allen Pierce on any of those platforms, and you will find those songs. I put everything up on my Facebook page, Michael Allen Pierce Music on Facebook. That's pretty much the headquarters for all things. And then for longer videos and other things, it would be Michael Allen Pierce Music on YouTube.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Allen Pierce, and we gotta connect one day, man.
Yes,
I can picture myself in that studio one day, and we cooking up something.
you already read my mind. I was thinking about that earlier tonight, going, man, I'm going to meet Sly. We're going to get together actually and have a handshake and a hug and actually, talk about the deeper things of the arts.
I feel it, man. It's coming.
And I appreciate once again being on your show. This has been great.